Okay, so I'm going to show you how I teach the kids how to round. And I'm going to start with just rounding numbers to the nearest 10. If they can learn to round numbers to the nearest 10 first, then we will talk about rounding numbers to the nearest 100 later on. But if they can master this first, then that will really help them round to the nearest 100. That shouldn't be a problem. So the first thing I have them do is, because they will be asked to round to the nearest 10 or the nearest 100, is I have them underline the digit they are being asked to round to. So for example, for this slide, we're going to say that they are underlining digit to the nearest tens. So we're going to underline the number in the tens place. So here's the 67. The 6 is in the tens place. And that number I underline is going to either stay the same or go up. And the jingle or the riddle that I teach them is 5 or bigger, it goes up. 4 or smaller, stays the same. And we kind of made some hand motions along with that too. See if they can show you those. But so what I do is I look at the number after it to decide if this number goes up. So I take my 6 and I look at the 7. And that's 5 or bigger, so this goes up. So when a 6 goes up, it becomes a 7. And then my number at the end turns to a 0. Another way you can also do this, what we've really worked really hard on so that they memorize exactly, or they understand the reasoning behind it. They don't just understand the rule, is that we use number lines. So if you think about another way to do it is say, okay, 82. Because you're running to the nearest tens, what tens is 82 between? Well, we say 82 is between 80 and 90. So those are my two choices. And because this is only a 2, it's much closer to go to the 80 than it is to the 90. So that's another way that we can think about that. When it gets to 35, we know that it's between 30 and 40. But we also know that it's exactly in the middle because it ends in a 5. So that's where my rule about being 5 or bigger, that it goes up, is going to kind of help this make sense to them. We also did an activity today in class where we talked about, we pretended that you were going on a trip and you have exits all along the highway, and only the exits with the tens have a bathroom. And you need to go to the bathroom really bad in your car trip. So you're at exit 35 and you need to go to the bathroom. Which exit are you going to go to? Are you going to go back to exit 30? Or are you going to keep going to exit 40? And we talked about, well, if you really wanted to get where you were going, you'd want to just keep going forward. If it's the same distance, you're going to have to wait the same amount. You'd want to keep going forward. So that's why we say the 5 goes up. So again, I'll show you both ways down here on the hundreds. This is where it gets really tricky. So we can do a couple things. We can just either say we're rounding to the nearest tens. So our 100 stays the same. And then I have to decide if my tens moves. If my tens is 5 or bigger, or if the number after my tens is 5 or bigger, my tens goes up. If the number after my tens is smaller, 4 or smaller, it stays the same. So because of that rule, I know that the 2 is going to stay the same because this was a 4 or smaller. So this stays the same. And then all my numbers at the end turn to a 0. When I do the next one, I'm going to show you that other option. I'm going to tell you that the 3 in the 100 stays the same because I'm rounding to the tens. So this is 86 is my number in the tens and the ones. And I'm going to say, okay, 86 is between either 80 or 90. So this is either 380 or 390. And because this is a 6, I know it's much closer to the 90. So it's going to round to 390. And then same thing with the thousands. I'm going to keep my thousands the same. I'm going to keep my hundreds the same. And then my tens, which is right here, that is either going to go up or stay the same. And I know that because this is a 7, when I look next door, this is a 7, it's going to go up. So when a 0 goes up, it becomes a 1. And then my numbers at the end turn to a 0. What I tell them is when you round numbers, the numbers have to end in a round number. And we talked about how the only round number in our whole numbers is a 0. So every time you round a number, your answer should end in a 0. So that was kind of a quick way that we talked about how to round by tens. Feel free to use any of those at home. We also drew number lines, so if you need to draw a number line to show that, here's 80, here's 90, 5 is in the middle, or 85 is in the middle, and then, which one would 82 be closest to? Well, 82 is obviously closer to 80, so we're going to go down. So hope that helps with homework, and please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.